This didn't take too long now, did it? So a few months back, I reviewed part 1 of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the franchise, and today I'll be reviewing part 2, Battle Tendency. So is this any better than part 1? Is the pacing at least better? Seriously, only 9 episodes, what the hell, anime? Well, let's find out. So after Jonathan's death on the ship, we cut to 49 years later, where Speedwagon recruits Straizo, the new master of the Hamon place Seppali trained at in his backstory, to go to Mexico because he found a bunch of the stone masks and also a giant figure in what appears to be a pyramid. He does so, but after getting a look at it and after a conversation about a certain lead, he murders his disciples and nearly kills Speedwagon so that he can become a vampire. Why? To be young again. Yeah, apparently Hamon could slow down the aging process as well as all the other fancy shit Zeppeli and Jonathan show off in part 1. Go figure. Anyways, he basically tosses them in the river so that the figure can't get their blood, and then we cut to our new lead, the grandson of Jonathan Joestar, Joseph Joestar, in New York. Huh, I guess New York is the place where dreams are made of. And what's the first thing we see Jonathan do? Get his money stolen by a kid and then beats up some crooked cops who got sick in an alley. I joke, but this is actually a good introduction scene to Joseph's character. Not only because we get to see him in a place out of his element, since he does come from England, but also because we get to see how different he is from his ancestor Jonathan. Unlike Jonathan, who would basically brute force his way into battle using mostly physical strength and Hamon, save for maybe the final fight on the castle, Joseph fights using both his brain and underhanded tactics. For example, in this very introduction, he's able to stop a cop from shooting him by applying Hamon to the bottle of soda he got in a previous scene, causing a chain reaction which results in the cap bursting off with enough force to destroy the finger that was on the trigger. Hell, he's also able to not only predict his opponent's moves, but is also able to predict what their next line is. But he's also not afraid to use underhanded tactics to win, such as in the fight against Straizo later in the first episode, where he pulls out a Tommy gun from behind his back and also runs away from the fight in the second episode, though it's later revealed to be part of his plan. But yeah, something tells me that if Jonathan was alive in this period, he would likely be ashamed of his descendants' underhanded and ungentlemanly tactics. Then again, Jonathan should have used his goddamn Hamon on Dio before he shot his goddamn eye-beams, or better yet, dodged the eye-beams instead of putting his hands up expecting to be protected when, as he saw in the previous episode, it can pierce through his hands! Sorry, do I sound salty? Because I am. It's like someone hit Jonathan with the idiot stick in between the fight at the castle and the ship, because in the previous fight he saw Dio's beam pierce through his hands! Anyways, after the introduction, and after getting reintroduced to Erina, we get our fight between Joseph and Straizo, and after Joseph wins, he is warned by Straizo about a man in the pillar who will soon awaken before he explodes. Also, Speedwagon survived. So we then cut to Mexico, where the figure/pillar man is trying to be freed by the Nazis! Yes, folks, this part takes place in World War II.
Yeah, this actually takes place during World War I.
What? It even says World War II in the second episode. So after Speedwagon wakes up, we get introduced to a Nazi general named Rudolf von Stroheim. Yeah, I'm gonna call him Stroheim because my German is shit, and it's easier to pronounce his last name anyways. So Stroheim wants to free the man in the pillar by using blood, and since he's, well, you know, a Nazi, his group kidnaps a large group of people and uses them as sacrifices. And it works! As the Pillarman is freed, given the name Santana, and starts killing Nazis for a bit before Joseph shows up and defeats him. Eventually. Oh, and Stroheim sacrifices himself to try and kill him, but not before revealing that there are 3 more Pillarmen, and tells Joseph to go to Rome to find out how to beat them. So, the Pillarmen. You remember when in part 1 I mentioned that the stone masks would also be used in part 2? Yeah, this is what I meant. See, the Pillarmen, particularly the leader Cars, created the stone masks as a way for his race to survive the sunlight. But his race was against the idea, so him and a second in command killed them, save for 2 infants. One of them was Santana, the other was... So anyways, Joseph's job is to learn how to beat the Pillarmen, defeat them, and save the world. Along the way, he encounters the grandson of Zeppeli, known as Caesar, grows a friendship with him, gets stronger, and develops thanks to training with a Hamon master known as Lisa. Grandsons to take down the 3 remaining Pillarmen, saving the world. Yep, both of them.
Your sarcasm is flatter than the stone block that killed Caesar.
Fair enough. Anyways, as a story, I think it's a big improvement over part 2. While the story is still pretty simple yet effective, the pacing has improved a bit. While I didn't bring this up in the original review, and I'm still kicking myself over the mistake, one other issue I found with part 1's anime was the pacing. Since it was only 9 episodes, that meant they had to rush the shit out of the pacing, and it certainly showed at points. But at least with part 2, we have 17 episodes to tell the story, which is a bit more relaxed than part 1. It gives us more time to expand on Joseph's training/growth, as well as to a smaller extent relationship with Lisa and Caesar, especially with Caesar. The 2 grandsons' dynamic really worked off with each other, and I could tell that the 2 of them had grown as companions as time went on, starting off as rivals, but eventually growing into good teammates. Hell, I thought the 2 of them would make it out okay. But, you know, thanks, Toucher, for the spoiler, by the way.
They don't know the full context of this scene. All they got is an action. Relax.
Alright. So, yeah, I also think the writing is a lot better than part 1. It has the levity to make the darker / serious moments all the more effective, but it also does a good job with its plot twists and exposition when compared to part 1. Hell, it even handles death better than part 1, showing that not everyone gets the final chance to say goodbye before passing on, and the way they handle Lisa and Joseph's reactions really encapsulate why this death is more effective than, say, George's death in part 1. That said, the story isn't perfect. Sometimes the pacing, despite being a lot more relaxed, can feel a little off, and as shown with Cars in the final episodes, the show does write itself into a corner, and the solution to beating him is pretty fucking ridiculous. A trend that is, rather unfortunately, still seen in shonen manga / anime today, if Madara Uchiha, you watch, Zeref and Acnologia are anything to go by. But outside of that, the story is good, and I'm really hoping that, much like part 2, part 3 will fix these issues I mentioned in this section. As for characters, they're a lot better than part 1, especially when it comes to the lead. I already praised Joseph's intelligence earlier in the review, but I also like his personality and chemistry with the other characters. Yeah, he's a loudmouth, but he also values his family and friends, even referring to his grandmother and Speedwagon as the only family he has left, and will do anything to protect them. Sorry, it's just that, saying that reminded me of something. So, yeah, whenever I watched Joseph fight the Pillar Man and saw him outsmart the villains, I was rooting him on, which is something I didn't really do for Jonathan, because most of the time, I had a feeling he was gonna win because of his physical strength. But since Joseph isn't physically stronger than the Pillar Man, that means he has to do a lot more in order to win his matches, which, like I said, worked out pretty well if I was cheering him on when he outsmarted them. So yeah, I love Joseph's character, and I can definitely see why they brought him back for parts 3 and 4. Next up is Caesar, and I'm not gonna lie, this guy's great. Like I said earlier, he has a good dynamic with Joseph, and despite his introduction painting him off as an egotistical asshole, he shows us why he's that way pretty quickly, as he's a lot more experienced with Hamon than Joseph is at the time. So yeah, I grew to love Caesar's character as time went on, and when he died, I was surprised. And if the creators can get an emotion out of me when someone dies, I think they did a good job here. I also really liked Lisa as a character, not only because of her relationship with Caesar and Joseph, but also because she could kick ass, which is something I wish part 1 had more of with its female cast, but it's here, so that's good. Strom was also decent, but I just wish they did more with him instead of having him sacrifice some slow...
Incoming!
Huh?
Here I come! Now it's coward killing time!
Woo! Hell yeah! Not only did they make him into a badass cyborg Nazi, I still can't believe I said that either, but they also made him into basically an ally of our heroes. Though that could also be because both groups want to take down the Pillar Men. Even still, with his return to the story and his actions, he went from being a decent character to another character that I liked. Anyways, as for the other side characters / heroes, they're okay. Not much to say about them, so let's talk about the Pillar Men. Santana, while a physical threat, is flat, so not much to comment on there. Cars was a pretty enjoyable villain, and I enjoyed his fights with Joseph. Wham is probably my favorite because of his interactions and with his fellow Pillar Men, as well as Joseph / Caesar. Great code of honor, even outshining Cars and AC/DC's code. Hell, he even stopped his own men from attacking Joseph as he was dying. And his great battle with Joseph, probably one of my favorite fights in part 2. As for AC/DC, he sucks. Like Santana, he's certainly a threat, and his dialogue with Joseph is okay, but he didn't really leave much of an impression on me when compared to Wham / Cars, and the same applies to his chemistry with the other characters, and even his personality is weak sauce. So yeah, the Pillar Men as villains are fine. While I don't like AC/DC and Santana though, Cars and Wham are still great characters. As for the animation element of part 2, I think it's just as good as part 1, if not a little better, since now the studio making the show has more experience with animating it. So that just leaves us with audio then to wrap this up. And like part 1, it's pretty good all around. Bloody Stream, the opening, took a while to get used to, but the more I listened to it, the more I started to appreciate it. As for Roundabout, the ending theme used in both parts, it's also pretty good. Same with the background music, one of my favorites being the Pillar Men theme series, and that song is really addicting, and I love the use of chanting and instruments in the song. It's really great. Voice-wise, both the sub and the dub turn in good performances, so yeah, not much to complain about there. And that's about it. So let's wrap this up. Overall, Battle Tendency is a great continuation of the JoJo series. It improves the pacing, characters, and music. While it does have its stumbles here and there, it was still an enjoyable experience from start to finish, and I'm excited to see part 3. Until then, I'm the Mounty, and next time we meet, we'll be looking at another request, from my lady this time. She requested me to review Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. See you then. So that's the status of the report, sir?
Yes, David. We have no reports on who did it, but it appears to have traits of black energy in it.
Like a construct?
Exactly.
So we have another Black Lantern on our hands then.
Or maybe the same one is back. David, have you seen the news in the last hour or so? Someone's resurrected your dad, and he is now walking around the remains of a city near your location.
Where is he?
David, don't do anything stupid. He likely still has the Black Lantern.
I don't care! Someone violated his grave and is now using his body as a puppet. I refuse to let that son of a bitch get away with it! Besides, since he's not living, I can deanimate him.
Or you could try bringing him back to life, expecting him to change.
He's dead, sir. I've spent over a year trying to get over his death. I had to accept that he was gone. And I have. That is why I must be the one to put this zombie version down. To show that I've moved past this.
Very well. Just be sure to make that okay. For your fiance's sake.
Trust me, sir. I'm not planning on my next meeting with her to be in a body bag.
I'm going with you.
No, I will not let you get killed.
Funny, I didn't ask you. I'm telling you. I know the risks and I don't care. I refuse to let my friend go into battle without trying to help them out. You know that I'm not your pet, David. I can think for myself, and I'm thinking you're going to need help.
Alright, I get it. And I appreciate the commitment, Toucher. In that case, let's do this.